This is the METS POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Mets offense showed fight, battling back a number of times, but for the 20th time since July 13th, the Mets blew yet another lead, and they fell to the Seattle Mariners in the opener of a 3-game series by a final score of 11-9. Welcome into the Mets Postcast here, live on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel. You can always listen to us in the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I am your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And I feel like I continue to be a therapist after these games, because here we are yet again talking about another New York Mets blown lead, another New York Mets loss. As you can tell, I tried to break out the hat that brought some good luck earlier on in the season, and there was no luck to be found yet again for the New York Mets. You know where we should start. We need to talk about Ryan Helsley. We need to talk about this bullpen overall. We'll get into the offense showing fight multiple times in this game. We'll break down Sean Manaea's night. And we'll get you ready for Nolan McLean making his MLB debut tomorrow, because that's really the only positive thing this team has going for it right now.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It was Ryan Helsley for the 4th straight night at the center of things for the Mets. And over his last 4 outings, he's allowed 5 earned runs, and he just continues to give it up. Now, it's the slimmest of margins. He only had a 1-run lead in this game, but not pitching in the 8th inning tonight like he was previously. And I kind of chuckled at myself, and maybe I'm laughing to avoid crying from watching this baseball team, but the thumbnail for the postcast before the game was Ryan Helsley in a black Mets uniform from last night's outing. The thumbnail that I change when the game is over was to Ryan Helsley in that same black Mets uniform, walking off the mound in distress from tonight's game. They look like they're from the same contest, but no, instead, 2 different outings for Ryan Helsley in the same uniform, looking the same. It is 5 earned runs in his last 4 outings. Normally, if this is April, if this is May, you're concerned, you're worried, but you're going to stick by your guy, right? You're going to keep him in those high leverage situations because you know that the confidence, once it gets there, this is a guy that led the National League in saves. He'll be fine, right? We've seen this team do it with Edwin Diaz. When things get a little shaky, he struggles, they tend to stick with him. They tend to keep him in that 9th inning role. It's August. Every one of these games feels like they matter a little bit more. We're all scoreboard watching a little bit more. You got to remove Ryan Helsley from high leverage situations for the time being. Now, it's tough to say who should be next, because Rogers gave up some runs tonight. He's been a little shaky as of late. Brooks Raley gave up runs tonight. So it's not like you have a clean option to turn to for that 8th inning role that isn't Ryan Helsley. Maybe you give it to Gregory Soto. You give him a chance. Reed Garrett hasn't pitched well as of late. So it's not like there's a tailor-made in-house option for this team to turn to in the 8th inning. That's why they went out and got Ryan Helsley. That's why they went out and got Tyler Rogers. They needed to beef up the back end of their bullpen. They needed to beef up the group that handed things to Edwin Diaz, because they didn't have that in-house option. And so when the guys you go out and trade for, they're not able to get it done. The guy who led the National League in saves last year can't get it done for you in the 8th inning. What do you do? Who do you turn to? I know we all like to criticize Carlos Mendoza when we think he gets something wrong, but it feels like any reliever he points to out of that bullpen coughs it up. He turned to Frankie Montas tonight in mop-up role. Frankie Montas, I believe he added an additional run onto things that could have been the difference. Frankie Montas allowed a run. Could be 10-9 instead of 11-9. Potentially, that opens the door for one swing to get the Mets back in it. Trust me, we'll talk about the Mets offense. They were great tonight. But boy, I don't know where you go. For just a second, forget that they're 2-14 in their last 16 games. For just a second, forget that they're barely hanging on to a National League wildcard spot. Just look at the way this bullpen performed tonight and where they've performed as of late. Who do you turn to? You got to get it to Edwin Diaz somehow. The Mets can't seem to do that. For 2 straight nights, They handed their bullpen a lead. They handed the guys that they went out and handpicked at the deadline, you're our guys. You are going to make up this super bullpen that fixes things for this team. We just need to get it to these guys. And we've got Rogers, who was great in San Francisco, Helsley, who was great last year for the Cardinals, playing on a bad team. We're going to get him into a winning environment. Hells Bells is going to be playing. Everything's going to be fantastic. Here we are talking about the Mets not having options to get the ball to Edwin Diaz in the ninth inning. Just don't know where they go. Doesn't matter who Carlos Mendoza points to out there in that pen. But you would certainly think that Ryan Helsley, for the time being, is not going to see those high leverage situations. And it's going to be somebody else, whether Brooks Raley gets a chance. I know he gave up some runs tonight, but he was a name that I was thinking about while watching the game. He's been overall solid since coming back from the Tommy John surgery. Maybe Gregory Soto gets a chance in the eighth inning in a high leverage spot. But the Mets need to find answers, because you can maybe deal with your bullpen being shaky and rocky in April and May when you're getting into the meat of the season. You can't have a bullpen be shaky right now, especially when your offense pours in 9 runs. You can't lose baseball games like this. And yet here we are once again talking about a New York Mets team that blew a lead. 20 blown leads since June 13th. I mentioned it in the open to the postcast. 20 blown leads since June 13th. You're just not going to have sustainable success when that is the case. And I see some people, I see Max mentioning, no mental fortitude. And I've seen that be questioned in the past. See, that's the frustrating part. That's the thing that drives me insane about this game in particular. You saw the mental fortitude. You saw the fight. You saw the counterpunch. How many times have we asked, can this offense show some life? Can this offense battle back for the team? They were down 1-0 in this game. Lindor raced it with a leadoff home run. Quickly down 2-1. Alvarez and Lindor team up to put the Mets back in front. They then go down 4-3. Soto, Lindor, back-to-back to put the Mets back in front. They answered the call tonight offensively. They answered the call when it came to battling back. We just have asked to see some fight from this offense when the situation requires it. Tonight they did it, and it still wasn't enough. You score 9 runs. You go 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position. You once again have an excellent night hitting with 2 outs. I mean, this team in the last 4 games, they showed it during the broadcast at one point, teams hitting over 500 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. This is what we dreamed of earlier in the year. We said, this team's got way too much talent. Why are they not hitting with runners in scoring position? Why are they not hitting with 2 outs? And they've done it over the last 4 games. And what do they have to show for it? 1 win, a lot of heartache, a lot of heartburn, a lot of agita, not a lot of wins. Way more of that other stuff than wins here as of late. Obviously, want to hear your thoughts on this Mets team as well. We'll get you ready for Nolan McLean making his MLB debut tomorrow. We'll talk about Sean Manaea's outing. We'll pick a turning point from this game, and we will do all of that, as you know, here on the other side. I'm going to need one of these. I'm going to need a 5-hour energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-hour energy transfusion. The grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power you through the day, 5-hour energy transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor that you love without ever leaving the green. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-hour energy transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now, you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5FIVEHEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters Tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or even on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization, of your spending and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Maybe there are some subscriptions that you forget that you are paying for. Well, if you link all your accounts to Monarch, you're going to be able to immediately spot those subscriptions that you weren't even using. Perhaps you're budgeting together with your partner. Monarch makes it simple to review those finances. You can both see goals, set budgets, and spending activities in one place. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB. Back here on the Mets Postcast, Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. Chris Schubert here with you, recapping an 11-9 loss for the New York Mets. I forget who asked it. It was Jay who asked, do we need therapy after this? Isn't this what we do here? Isn't this what the Mets Postcast are supposed to be? Either a celebration of the good night that the Mets had or the good afternoon the Mets had, and when things don't go our way, this is what we're here for. It's what you sign up for when you join the show. It's what I'm here for. We talk it out. We try to get through it together. It's an instant reaction after the game. The good, bad, and the indifferent. Sean Manaea went tonight for the New York Mets, and I don't know. It's hard to really judge Sean Manaea's start. I'll give you the box score, and then we can break it down. I did think there was one thing that was good for Manaea tonight. 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, the 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts was good. Did give up the 2 home runs. I mean, as of late, the Mets don't get starters going into the 5th inning, so back-to-back nights of doing that. I guess we'll take that. We should at least celebrate the small wins where we can get them, right? The one thing I liked from Sean Manaea tonight, generated more whiffs here in this game. The 7 strikeouts, certainly proof of that, but you look into the data, 28% whiff rate tonight compared to 23% for the season. So not a huge boost, but certainly generated more swing and miss, more whiffs on his pitches tonight. But still, he's only a 2-pitch pitcher. He's using the sinker and the sweeper. He only threw 5 changeups tonight. He just needs that 3rd pitch. It just feels like his arsenal is too recognizable when a lineup turns over and you get a 2nd, 3rd turn through. It just feels like they know what's coming. It feels like these the opposing bats are just available. They're just there. They just know what's coming and they can come through in a big moment. I mean, the Mariners had 11 extra base hits in this contest, and the Mariners did a great job of attacking early in this game. They were swinging a lot early in the count, swinging at a lot of first pitches against Manaea early in this game. So he got the Mets through 5 innings and left with the team in front, but unfortunately just unable to get it done with the bullpen. The turning point, I mean, you can, there's 2 that come to mind. I think we need to pick between 2 bullpen meltdowns in this one.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
You could probably pick Helsley in the 6th inning. Or excuse me, Rogers in the 6th inning, giving up the run that made it a 1-run game. You could pick Helsley in the 7th, coughing up the lead. I think either one of those makes sense. Obviously, pitching with a 1-run lead for Helsley was troublesome. Probably have to pick that because that set in motion an inning that saw Seattle finish up 10-6. And Francisco Alvarez hit a big 3-run home run to get them back in it. And they were down 11-9. They just couldn't do anything. This night is not on the offense. This night is not on Sean Manaea in my mind. I think tonight what you got from Sean Manaea, just back up to maybe a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember the exact moment where we started talking about this, but I do remember us saying that, listen, we just want these Mets starters, or at least most of them. Can you leave the mound giving the Mets a chance? Right? I think this was around the time Montas gave up 7 runs in 2 or 3 innings. We said, hey, you just got to give the Mets a chance. When you walk off the mound, the Mets got to be in it. They got to be either winning, tie game, close game. Give the Mets a chance and this offense and this bullpen to keep the game close and win the game. I mean, Sean Manaea checked that box tonight. Was it great? No. Is it what we know Sean Manaea to be able to do? No. But I thought Sean Manaea pitched well enough to give this team a chance to win. I thought the offense played well enough for this team to win. They scored 9 runs, for goodness sake. They had how many hits in this game? 12 hits in this game. Not enough to win. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what buttons you push. I don't know what Carlos Mendoza can do to try to get this team out of it. I really don't know. Max says, Chris, I think Holmes needs to move to the bullpen. He is struggling with innings pitched and would really add to the bullpen. What do you think? Let's lead this into focusing on tomorrow and what should be a really fun day in what has been a very bad stretch for this baseball team, because Nolan McLean is going to make his MLB debut for the New York Mets. And I think we're all very excited about the potential of this kid, what he's been able to do down in AAA. You read the scouting reports on his arsenal. That sweeper is just deadly. It's his best pitch. It's the pitch he actually throws the most out of his 6-pitch offering. You'll probably see the sweeper. You'll see a 4-seam, a traditional fastball. You'll see a sinker. You'll see a cutter to lefties. He also throws a curveball to lefties, and he's been tinkering with, I think it's a split finger changeup. Hasn't thrown a ton of them this year, so I don't know if you'll see that tomorrow, but he's got 6 pitches that he's utilized this year down in AAA. They have to make a roster move in order to do that. And if I looked at the roster correctly on Fangraphs, their 40-man roster is currently full. So there's a 40-man move in addition to a 26-man move that this team is going to have to make either tonight or tomorrow if they haven't already announced one. And so that's going to tell us a lot about how they feel about Clay Holmes' future in the bullpen or as a rotation arm, to your question, Max. Because depending on who they remove from the 40-man, whether it's somebody who's in AAA on the 40-man to free up the spot for McLean and they just send down, say, Reed Garrett, who has options, that tells me that they're still tinkering here. They're still trying to keep all of their options open to figure this out. And you could see Clay Holmes go to the bullpen if they want to call up another arm for the rotation. If they send down, if they just send down, or they DFA Stanek, or if they DFA, let's say, Paul Blackburn to make room on the 40-man for McLean, that's one less option that they have on the table to be able to then move Holmes to the bullpen later from a 40-man perspective to then call up Brendan Sproat. So there's some roster chess here, some roster gymnastics that this team has to do. So to keep an eye on who they move for Nolan McLean tomorrow. If it's just simple as DFAing somebody that's not with the team right now, but they need to clear the 40-man spot, then that tells me that they want to keep all of their options open. They want to keep Reed Garrett's option as a piece in their back pocket. They want to keep DFAing Stanek, maybe DFAing Blackburn, or swapping Holmes and Blackburn. They want to keep all of their options open. If they, let's say, DFA Stanek tomorrow or later this evening to free up the spot for McLean, well, if you want to move Holmes to the bullpen and you want to call up another starter, or you want to call up Sproat, you have to make another 40-man move to free up that spot, or you can just wait until September 1st when rosters expand and call up somebody then. But that's 16 days from now. The Mets don't have a lot of time to waste with the way that they are currently playing. So if they feel like they need to bring up help, they'll do it here pretty quickly. So just keep an eye on what that roster move is. But I know it's frustrating. I know we're all annoyed at another Mets loss, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to be pretty excited to watch Nolan McLean tomorrow. I'm pretty amped up to watch him make his MLB debut. And whether or not he can go out there and dominate and help this team, it just feels like just an exciting thing to be able to witness tomorrow. A prospect that we've been talking about all season long, a guy that was a reliever, two-way player at Oklahoma State, dedicating his entire craft to now starting pitching, and now has become one of the best overall pitching prospects in the game, potentially the best prospect, pitching prospect in the game right now. So really excited to see that. I will say one more thing before we get out of here. I forgot to mention it when we were talking about Sean Manaea, and it just popped into my brain before we get out of here. I may have, and I know because I've been critical of this in the past, so I don't want to come off as hypocritical. I may have let Sean start the bottom of the 6th, or the top of the 6th, excuse me. I may have let Manaea face the bottom of the order. He was facing, 6, 7, 8. He pitched well in that last inning. The only person that got on base was Eugenio Suarez, hit by pitch. His pitch count wasn't super high. I think I would have maybe given him a chance with the bottom part of the order. I know I'm the guy that says Mendoza sometimes sticks with his starter a little too long and tries to force it. But I thought he was pitching well enough at that point to where you could maybe have seen if he could get through another inning, or at least start the inning and at the first sign of trouble, then gone to the bullpen. And I know I've been critical of it in the past, but he was pitching well. It was the bottom part of the order. 6, 7, 8 was due up. So you feel like that's a more advantageous spot for Sean Manaea to try to maybe give the Mets more length than they've gotten in the past. So I would have maybe considered it. I didn't fault them for turning to the pen at that point. It totally made sense, but I would have at least considered it with Manaea with the way that he was pitching tonight. James says they need a 6th starter August 25th. That's the other thing too. They're going to need to call somebody up. So there's a lot of roster gymnastics coming for this team. So I think the first thing to pay attention to is what move they make tomorrow, and then we can kind of go through the permutations from there. But Reed Garrett's option and being the only bullpen arm that has an option, I think looms large here, either today/tomorrow for McLean or for another roster move that they want to make down the road. So just keep an eye on all of that. Programming note, not going to be here tomorrow for a postcast. We're back together, you and I, most likely on Sunday to break down the finale of this series when the Mets take on the Mariners, not at Citi Field, but in Williamsport, PA. So I will be just a strict fan tomorrow watching Nolan McLean's debut, but softball tournament for the daughter that we are headed to. So going to be out there watching some softball, and hopefully it goes a lot better than the way the Mets have gone as of late. And I kind of fully expect that to be the case. So that's what I've got tomorrow. I'm back most likely, depending on how things go, on Sunday for the finale of this series. So the Mets lose another one, another blown lead here for the Mets. The bullpen, Ryan Helsley at the center of it once again, and they waste the night in which the Mets offense was great. The Mets offense had power. The Mets offense continued to hit with 2 outs, and the Mets offense battled back after multiple lead changes in this game. They showed that fight. They showed that grit that we've asked for, and yet it still wasn't enough. They will once again search for answers. I'm sure Carlos Mendoza is saying all those buzzwords afterwards. We're getting after it. These guys are trying. There's a lot of talent in that room. We know we're better than this. I'm sure all of that is being said right now by Carlos Mendoza, if it hasn't already been said by Carlos Mendoza. But they'll just have to get back on the diamond tomorrow and hopefully change their course in that game with Nolan McLean on the mound. So enjoy McLean's debut. We're back together on Sunday to break down the finale of this series. And as always, have a good one, Mets fans.